All right. Good morning, good morning, everybody. For a second there, I thought we were doing something else. But anyway, must be Thursday or something. And I think today is May the 4th be with you.
There we go.
Yes. I got it out there. All of our Star Wars people can understand. All right. So what's going on today? Same things. News coming out this week about, jobs and more jobs or less jobs. I'm not even going to get into it. I just want to get into other things. What do you want to talk about today, sir?
Well, so this is something that initially sounds like a dry subject, right? Zoning.
Oh, that is dry.
But super critical, right?
Well, I can tell you about multiple. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so the reason I brought this
What do you
up,
mean zoning, like what the city does or your line in your property?
as far as what the city does, right?
Okay.
Like, so if this is multifamily, if this is single family residence, commercial, right? And obviously, we always talk about how there's a shortage of inventory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've always been looking at solutions of building like high density multifamily places, right? And rezoning areas. That works, for making more homes for people, right? Especially like
it works for making more rentals. Yes.
Yeah, rentals. Right?
It doesn't work for making more homes for people to buy. So it depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah, unless they were to rezone like a commercial area to put it into single family, right? So a lot of people think like, okay, well, what would be the big deal if they rezone some areas? And if you already own a home in the area, then it's a big deal,
of course.
And so some people don't think about that. Where do
you think they're? So give an example.
So there is a lot that I sold last year, or maybe 2 years ago, and they had changed it from commercial to R2, right? And it was right next to the church that we were attending, but then right next to that lot was a bunch of single family houses, right?
So R2 is 2 units,
multifamily,
or is it just multifamily? Not just so it could be up to 4, or we talk how many units?
No, based on the size of the lot, they could build up to 24 units.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God, they gotta love you.
Well,
the neighbors and the church.
Well, yeah. So the church sold it, right?
Right.
And they paid off some debt with it, but the
church should have kept it and built a whole bunch of units.
That was discussed. Unfortunately, just not the funds there. But yeah. So whoever bought the guy who bought the land still hasn't started developing it yet, but I'm sure there's probably something that works. But so that's an example of how zoning was changed from commercial to multifamily, and eventually there's going to be a multifamily complex there.
Well, and that's the problem with some of the newer homes. If you buy on the outside of the complex, what I mean is we're up to that wall, right? And you oversee something, because I know where our neighborhood was over off Keepsake, some of those backed up to that commercial block, and then next thing you know, they built some commercial buildings right there and other stuff.
Yeah,
it's important to know what's going to go in next to you, and that could even buying a house out in the country. You never know what they're going to sell that lot next to you for, or where is it going to go and what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and now that pot farming is legalized, people have to get permits, but there are pot farms that are being authorized out in the country too.
Yeah, but luckily a lot less, because it just doesn't make as much money anymore.
Yeah,
the black market is where it's at. Unfortunately, I always thought, when the sheriff and them like go in and raid one of those things, what they should do is have the dispensary come in and bid on it and sell it to them.
Hey, that's a good
idea, what I mean?
Man.
It's like, how can we get more product here? We just took this over and we're going to sell it to you. Bid, have an auction, like, pot wars, like storage wars. I
was going to say, man, does that make that probably implicates them though in the selling?
Well, no, when they sell, seize property down the road and have auctions on them, remember, they do that stuff. Yeah. So, government, when they seize the property, they sell it. So why not?
There would be a way.
I guess what you're saying is you've seen some movies where they've like, what can we do to make more money for the sheriff's department? We'll just raid everything.
Yeah, there you go. Huh?
I can see where you're coming from. Well, sheriff's coming on next week on the radio show. I'll ask him about that.
Yeah, good idea, man.
Yeah. Last week we had the multifamily people on, which is Jake and Gino, and they he was one of the guys owned a pizza place. The other guy he was a drug rep, and they started doing multifamily, which is apartment complexes. And they did their first one. They started together in 2011 and 2013, got their first units, 30 units. And now they own 2,000 doors since then. And the reason I'm bringing this up is people don't think about it, not only what we do in single family homes and everything, but you can buy apartment complexes. You can buy a lot of stuff. I'm not saying California is the right place for it, but these people are buying them in other areas, and they own, I think their portfolio is worth $225 million now.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like a whole bunch of money, but if it was in California, it'd be $1 billion.
But yeah. So anyone who's interested in investing in something like that, give us a call, because I actually pulled up some properties a couple months ago, and there are ones that are anywhere from 30 to like 60 units that are under $1 million.
Well, the one thing about, and what people don't realize is some people bought that stuff in the last few years, in the last 10 years or whatever, and they used adjustable rates and certain things like that, and they're coming due, and they can't afford them. And it's not where a lot of what I was getting at, these guys, they talk about and they educate you on, get a fixed rate. Yeah. On this debt, find find something that's a fixed rate. And that's what they did on all theirs, because that was the smart thing, where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to do adjustable because it's so cheap right now. No, don't do it.
Yeah, I can say as soon as something changes, though, right?
Well, just like with rates that moved up. I mean, the prime rate's 8%. Yeah. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
That's why HELOCs and everything else, you add your margin on it, you're at 9, 10, 11, percent, because the prime rate's so high, and that's what the Fed funds affects. So
gotcha.
So just be careful out there. But anyway, that's why I'm saying, and that's apartment complex is a great way to, buy more and then not worry about having one person not make payment. But the problem is, a lot of places during the pandemic, they didn't get their rents, and then afterwards they had to fight for their rents and everything else. Not everybody. Smart people had people pay their rents. So
yeah, I was gonna say there was a lot of miseducation at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it came from the news, man. I mean, I had tenants.
What?
Yeah, right.
Now, I got in trouble last week because I listened to the news, and I made a comment, and then I got told that I was wrong. So on Monday, I took it back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, this is so old that no one's going to be able to prove it, but I did, trust me. And I saw it on the morning news, and later that afternoon, I had a tenant come in and say, I heard that because of COVID, I don't have to pay my rent. And I said, well, that's silly.
If you lost your job.
Yeah. I can say, can you prove you lost your job? No. The only one I did have was a lady who had 2 jobs, and her second job was a gym that she worked at as personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
But that accounted for like $200 a month. She had her primary job as an insurance agent, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Come on, I don't have to pay my rent.
Yeah. But yeah, that is kind of the scary thing getting into rentals, because I've had friends too that have had, say 3 or 4, and if you have 2 tenants that are behind on their rent, mm-hmm. you're in a jam real quick.
Well, that's the 4-plex and 3, those things. But and still, those are great to get into. We always say, have your child, help them buy a home and put them in one of those, because then that's their first. They have a 4-plex, and down the road that'll pay for itself, and that'll be long-term income for the future. Yeah, an investment. I mean, that you just can't touch later on. Once you have your right place, you can't go get those 4 units. I have so many people go, I want to do that now, but you have a single family home. And remember, I said this early on before you got that home.
Yeah, you want to move the family down into a 4-plex now.
They just don't believe you. That's the problem. Going, from if you have a 4-plex to a single family home with kids and everything else sounds very easy to do, but go from a single family home to a 4-plex, they're going to say you're crazy. Yeah. Now, if you're downsized, right, because you don't need the big house anymore and you can rent it, that you potentially could do something like that, or in a different area.
I think home ownership is such a tricky thing in California that a lot of young people just don't even assume that they can do it, right? Like,
I think a lot of people don't think they can do it.
Yeah. And I know,
get my book at getedsbook.com.
Getedsbook.com.
I mean, because Mike Kelly, he gave it to his son, and then his son sent him a whole text about how he now feels more comfortable that he'll be able to own a home within the next year. Yeah. So, and that's what it's about. It's not about trying to get everybody to come through me for a mortgage loan. That's what it's not about. It's about educating everybody about being able to buy a home anywhere and everywhere, And I don't care if anybody can get my book and give it to their clients. It's not about coming through me all the time. It's about getting educated that it's a possibility to own a home.
Yeah. I know, gosh, years ago before we bought our first home, I had kind of written myself off as always being a renter. And so I know that's a mentality with a lot of young folks. And I mean, I was like, I was 20, 28, 29 when I bought my first house, and I love it when I see people that are in their early 20s buying a home.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with understanding how easy it really is.
Yeah.
Right. And like I tell a lot of people, if you can't qualify by yourself, get your family to go in with you and then work out an equity share.
Yeah.
Make it work for everybody. That's the easiest way to get in. I mean, I'd much rather you have equity share with a family member than the government.
Yeah. I would say, since that's dried up anyway, man. Yeah.
I know, but and everybody keeps going, oh, is there a down payment assistance programs out there? Not like that. Everything else is just the down payment or part of a down payment for the 3.5% or 3% down. No one else out, that for most people, what money you make. There might be a city program somewhere, but you're not going to be making what you make.
Yeah.
Right. That's a limited amount. A lot of them are really low, kind of like this other program we have. And that's the problem is if you have the down payment, maybe we work on getting the closing costs. But right now it's hard to do anything. Right. Much harder.
Yeah. But hey, biggest thing right now is just having homes to buy.
Ain't that a fact? And that's why new builds are going so well again, because they're, you can get in.
Yeah.
Potentially. But then, you might have to go to Merced or Atwater or somewhere else to get that house. Right. You're not going to, and I want this place in Modesto. It's like everybody's in the 465 price point. Right.
Yeah.
517 and below. Everybody's in that number. And it's a hard one to get at. Because I have a bunch of buyers and they're fighting right now with each other.
Like I say, I haven't had a listing in a while. So, what kind of they're still up against like 20 other offers?
It doesn't matter if it's 5 or 20. You can only sell it to one person.
Yeah. Well, it's just once you start getting over like 10, then all of a sudden like the counter offers come back are ridiculous, right?
Right. Well, the problem is nobody listened to us when we told them to get into it during those 4 months where most people didn't want it. Right. They were afraid. Yes, that was the time to do it when sellers were willing to give you some money. Now sellers don't have to.
Yeah. They're kind of back with the leverage.
Yeah. Just like the employers are.
Yeah.
It always shifts one, each way. So anything else going on? You want to talk about anything? You got any open houses this weekend or anything?
Nothing yet. Looking for one though.
It's nice and cool this weekend, supposedly, unless things change since, I looked the last time.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah. So I, unfortunately, Saturday have to go to a Rotary thing for half the day because I'm president of my Rotary next year. So I have to go to all these leaderships bull. And I say bull because it's like they have us go to elementary places or middle school places and in the cafeteria, and they want us to sit at those stupid tables. We're grown people.
Yeah.
You're laughing. My back can't take it.
Oh, I was just thinking like every time I go to like the parent teacher conferences,
sit in your son's desk.
Yeah, there's tiny little seats. Yeah.
And that's like, I still don't understand. Hey, why can't we put these in other places? Like, how about the county education? I'm sure they got a room that they can lend to us or we could pay for. Yeah, I just don't get it. As you can tell, I get irritated by it. So I'm going to bring one of my little chairs that I sit outside with and just bring it there to sit in.
There you go. Right.
Well, normally when I get there, I look around because the people by the door taking stuff, they have the regular folding chairs. So I look around to see where someone sat one up against a wall because it was an extra one. I go grab it and bring it over and everybody's like looking at me. I was like, sorry, you didn't think about it.
So do you have one of those folding chairs that has like the little rocker with like the pistons on it?
No.
I want to get one of those because we're at the baseball field 4 days a week,
Yeah. No, that's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have all the ones that have the covers on them to keep the sun off you and everything. Yeah. What's funny is to see all the people, I don't want to say women, but a lot of the people, they have their cups. It's like, what's in there? Oh, just juice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But they're sharing it with their friends.
Dude, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Just kidding.
Yeah. It's a mimosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're just because we come across and sometimes negative on the fact that there's limited supply doesn't mean you can't get into the house that you want. It just takes work. So, and be okay with that and understand you're going to write some offers, but by the time you get that house that you want, it's going to be the house you want. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, you know,
I normally have had nobody who's like, this is the worst neighborhood I've ever got into.
Yeah.
As we always say, you go there at one time, but then visit in the evening, visit in the morning, just to double check certain things to make sure.
Absolutely.
Right? Not just the open house where everything is beautiful because they went down to each side and said, all right, clean up your yard. Do this for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you hate because our front yard is just destroyed, right? All our grass is dead, the plants are still growing, but the grass is dead, and we look like the rental place next door. Actually, that one looks worse because we're focusing on finishing the backyard to go to back to the front yard and fix it, because we have to put in new concrete in the front yard and a bunch of stuff. But it's like, okay, don't want to pour and make the front yard nice again and then have to track all this dirt into the backyard and everything else we need to do, So I just apologize every time because I'm going to change our whole front yard. We have these big round circles around our trees, and that was that way from when I bought it. But when I bought it, there was all these plants in it and flowers and everything. And she won, that thing they go around like a couple weekends ago where they do the gardening, the competition between all these different houses.
Yeah, the garden tours.
Yeah, thank you. And she won many years. Funny thing is, when I moved in, there was plants missing.
What?
Yeah, shocking.
So like they took.
Yes, they took a lot of plants, and of course, I was in and out of this area so much because of my job, and I moved here. But I was gone a lot, and so I didn't realize because I bought it in May. Right when you hit May, a lot of those plants die, the blooms come off, right? So you're thinking, oh, those are just the tulips that went back down. No. Yeah, anyway, move on. So but instead of those big round circles away, I want it across the front instead, and then have the grass on the backside. Gotcha. I don't want grass all the way around it. It's a pain because then your sprinklers have to hit it just perfect. I'm probably going to put turf in, which is really going to irritate my landscape guy. Yeah, because we can put turf in the backyard. So yeah, we don't need you back here. Thanks. Once a year, maybe, to trim the jasmine. Yeah. Anyway, I'm done. Anyway, so that's my problem. It's like, okay, and then, do you keep, put grass in and then take it back out? No, and we'll figure it out. So again, my neighbors, I apologize. Yeah. It's a work in progress. Thank the pool company and the remodelers for destroying the front grass. All right, I'm done. You got anything else, Bobby?
No, that's it, man.
All right, make it a great day. Thanks for listening to us. We really appreciate it. If you like what we do here, share, subscribe, let us know. I appreciate it. Bobby, thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.